It's now time to discuss the game-changing impact of using e-commerce. But before I start to discuss its impact, let's just make sure that we properly understand its meaning. E-commerce, also known as electronic commerce, refers to the buying and selling of goods or services using the internet. Electronically, as opposed to, in person. So pretty much any site that you buy a product or service from, such as Amazon, eBay, Etsy, ASOS, and the millions of others out there. So the history of e-commerce begins with the very first online sale, which took place way back on August the 11th, 1994. A man sold a CD to his friend through his website called Netmarket. And this is the first ever example of a consumer purchasing a product through the internet. So this was the first example of what we now know as e-commerce. Since then, e-commerce has evolved to make products way easier to discover and then purchase through online retailers and marketplaces like eBay and Amazon. You can now order pretty much anything from anybody, anywhere in the world with just a few clicks of a button. Which is pretty crazy when you think that not too long ago in history, you wouldn't buy anything from anybody who lived outside of your town or your village. The rise of e-commerce has caused significant changes in many industries over the last few decades. Believe it or not, back in the early 2000s, companies that are now household names, such as Uber, Airbnb, Spotify or ASOS, they didn't even exist. When businesses like these don't have any physical outlets but operate purely online, they are referred to as pure play e-commerce. When you think about it, e-commerce has meant that many traditional businesses, which we might refer to as bricks and mortar businesses, that do have physical locations, have had to change their entire business model. As an example, most newspapers and magazines can now be read online. And some of these companies have even stopped publishing a physical copy of their newspaper. A newspaper which has been printed for over hundreds of years and is now sold only online. Pure play e-commerce firms such as eBay, ASOS, Bet365 are now significant challengers to established products and brands, and in some cases are more popular than their traditional rivals. So, in this video we're going to meet Gus, the founder of a UK-based beard oil company named Bearded Giant, who have successfully used e-commerce to build a massive brand and got into the game quite some time ago. The business was born shortly after Gus had grown a beard. This was also around the time e-commerce started to pop up. You can see it's pretty impressive as beards go. And Gus realised he needed to find some kind of control for this huge mass of newly grown hair. However, at the time there were no products on the market that really grabbed his attention, so he created Bearded Giant, and that's the end of the story. Gus's beard lived happily ever after. Actually, there's a little more to the story than that. Each product produced by Bearded Giant is handmade in small batches with 100% natural ingredients, carefully chosen for their beard benefits. By creating quality, handcrafted products with all natural ingredients, Bearded Giant provides beard care to nurture your facial fur, making the customer's beard the best that it can be. Gus wanted to deliver a great product at an affordable price with maximum convenience for the customer. So rather than selling via retailers or creating his own stores, he decided to keep the supply chain simple and to sell directly to customers via the internet. That way he could also keep his costs to a minimum and hopefully maximize those super important profits. To all the teachers out there, show all of these videos without any ads and gain access to our growing library of over 500 teaching worksheets. Why not visit BizzWizard.co.uk to find out more? So, Gus got to it and found a developer to build him a fancy website. found a manufacturer to make the beard oil to the standards that he wanted, and rented a small out-of-town warehouse where he could ship the oil straight to the anticipating customer. Now, the thing that Gus realised quickly is many of his customers were ordering oil every month or two. He used his website analytics to find this information, and he had a light bulb moment that he should try a subscription model. The idea here was instead of buying oil when they wanted, customers would sign up to a subscription to the Beard Giant beard oil and would receive the product once a month without fail. At the time, no other beard product manufacturer had attempted to offer a subscription model through an e-commerce platform. So Gus and his slowly growing team had developed a competitive advantage, something that let them stand out from the competition. Now, over 10 years later, the Bearded Giant is a huge company with a sales revenue of over £50 million a year. They ship all over the globe and have a cult following on social media. In fact, Gus, or I guess Gus's beard, has become pretty famous in its own right. Bearded Giant is one of the many huge e-commerce success stories. Selling over the internet has given many entrepreneurs the opportunity to build some impressive companies, and this would not have been the case way back before the world started trading online. Bring this video and over 100 more to life with fun, interactive games, quizzes and case studies. Why not try the first 25 completely free by visiting BizzWizard.co.uk. So let's have a look at the advantages and the disadvantages of using e-commerce, starting with the advantages. One of the main advantages of e-commerce for Gus is the ability to sell to a wider target market. He has been able to attract customers from outside his immediate area and has grown the company's market share over time by expanding across Europe and the USA. This is also the case for countless other businesses who are now able to sell their products beyond the geographic boundaries of their towns or cities and find customers at every corner of the globe. With e-commerce, customers can place orders 24/7, at any time, day or night, increasing the chances of a business making a sale. And with the increase in efficiency of online payment processing, such as PayPal and Apple Pay, mean that electronic purchases are paid immediately. If operating as a pure-play e-commerce business that doesn't have any physical shops, they will be able to keep fixed costs, such as rent and other overhead payments, down. Even though Gus has had to take on more warehouse space to fulfill his orders as the business has grown, the cost of this space is much cheaper than high street retail premises would actually be. E-commerce has allowed Gus to compete on things other than just price. He hit on a clever combination of convenience, quality, customer loyalty, and using a subscription model. Using e-commerce has simply allowed Gus to compete more effectively in his industry. It's also much easier for customers to compare prices online, compared to trailing around the shops or ringing up for quotes. If you are a business with low prices and you get yourself listed on these comparison websites, it can be extremely lucrative for your business and gain you many new customers. By being a pure-play e-commerce business, Gus has been able to create a barrier to entry to his competitors, who now need to invest significant amounts of money in order to try and compete with his massive online audience. Each of the video courses over at BizzWizard.co.uk also includes an interactive business case study that applies the knowledge learned to a real-world scenario. There are over 1,000 multiple-choice questions, each with detailed feedback, which tests students' understanding of the content. Why not visit BizzWizard.co.uk to find out more? These are just some of the many advantages to a business of using e-commerce, but let's now look at some of the disadvantages. Although e-commerce has allowed more customers from across the UK, Europe and the USA to buy the bearded giant beard oil, the flip side is that he has found his business is now competing against more competitors, making it harder for his business to stand out from the crowd. E-commerce means that employees need specific skills, such as website maintenance, which will cost money in terms of training or recruitment, and the wages for these skilled roles may be relatively high, increasing costs. Gus has had to make sure that his business has procedures in place for how the product will be delivered and for processing returns and refund requests, as well as managing the logistics of such a complex subscription model. Finally, and very importantly, a business may have some high upfront costs. These can be for developing its website, along with the need to maintain and update it regularly, including security software, which can all add up quickly, as you can imagine. So, with the advantages and disadvantages covered, you need to be aware that e-commerce has had a huge impact on the way that products and services are bought, and I know that this impact will only increase as we head into the future. Because of e-commerce, Gus has been able to compete on things other than simply price. And he's not the only one. Businesses can now compete on quality of service, free upgrades, loyalty schemes such as Amazon Prime, having unique branding, innovative services, and promotions such as free shipping. One important thing to keep in mind when it comes to setting up an e-commerce business nowadays is that Amazon has really shaken up the e-commerce market. You might not know that they actually started off selling mainly books and CDs online. Having a large dominant online retailer such as Amazon is a major barrier for other retailers now going online. Amazon is now so big that it can easily bring in new products or new customers without too much effort, making it difficult for smaller businesses to compete. So don't rush into e-commerce without thinking everything through. If you get a question about the impact of e-commerce in the exam, it's easy to fall into the trap of just focusing on the advantages. But it's important to balance your answer with some of the potential disadvantages that we have discussed in this video. As we've seen, the growth of e-commerce has brought about some fascinating opportunities for entrepreneurs across the globe, just like our friend Gus and his magnificent beard. This has been the BizzWizard. See you in the next